Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata Podcast. I am your host, Andrea Pranzatelli, and this is episode number 38 on my podcast series here on YouTube. Before we get into it, I have a very special guest here today. Her name is SJ. She is my friend. She is an all-around creative person in general. She writes poetry. She does Instagram modeling. Quite frankly, I just recently found out that she's very hands-on, and I've never felt more dumb like around her than I have ever felt, because I'll explain that in a little bit. But before we get into it, I have some interesting questions for her. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment on anything we talk about throughout the episode. This is a video series podcast that I do here on YouTube, where I interview local New Jersey, New York City, and Philadelphia comics, musicians, creatives, all types. And let's get right into it. So just to explain to everybody what we were talking about, I had issues with a couch from Amazon that basically I bought the biggest piece of shit couch off of Amazon for $500. I went through all this trouble to unpack it. I had my father put it together for me, and then I sat on it and it gave me a migraine. So I was like, okay, I have to return this thing. And I didn't have the heart to tell my father to take it apart. I was like, he's going to be heartbroken because he put it together. So you were like, I'll do it. And I'm thinking, like, how does she know how to do it?
I love building furniture and taking it apart. Like, fuck me up.
I've never felt more stupid. I was like, wow. I was like, this girl can really put shit together. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard. It's just, I mean, all we did was unscrew bolts.
You're right. Like, once you showed me how to do it, I was like,
yeah, pretty straightforward.
This isn't hard, but I'm just not someone who likes reading instructions. So I just kind of look at something and I'm like, I can't do this. But you were like, no, just like follow it step by step. And I was like, oh, and you did it really fast. I was like, she's just like everything I'm not, basically.
I mean, I don't know. How I break up tasks, I just try to do one thing at a time, and usually that helps. I mean, in all life, in every aspect, when I'm overwhelmed, I just take it one step at a time, and I just think, okay, well, what's the first thing that we have to do? I look at it and I'm like, all right, well, we have to unscrew these bolts or whatever to get the legs off, and then we got to put it inside of wherever, inside of there was like a little pouch or something on the bottom.
Are you someone who does well with manuals? Like, can you read manuals and instructions?
No, I get so bored.
Okay, so I like to start off every podcast episode with self-awareness questions and like awkward questions. So we know each other.
Hit me.
The first thing I want to do is and I did this with my last guest and we had a lot of fun. I want to exchange honest, totally blunt and honest first impressions of each other.
Oh my
Do you want me to go first?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
My first impression of you was that you hated me. And
what? Oh my god, I have resting bitch face. Was it that?
I just think we came across each other a few times, and I just never felt we like stopped and said hi to each other. And I wasn't sure if it was because I was giving you a bad vibe, and then you didn't feel comfortable coming up to me, or you hated me. Like, so that was what I thought.
Yeah, that's fair. So I think that like what happened was when I first started coming around here, when Kevin and I first started dating, I saw so many new people and I was like, I don't know who the fuck anyone is. And we had run into each other a couple times, like maybe out
in
back,
public.
and then in
Walmart.
downtown too.
Like, I felt like I saw you.
Oh
at
my
Walmart.
god, yeah, and we did over the summer.
Yeah, and that was funny. That was the day after someone tried to break into.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I was like going there to buy mace and a knife.
Yeah,
and then I ran into you. I'm like, that's so weird. And I was like, maybe I should tell them, but then I just didn't for some reason, because I'm not quick to like go up to people.
Yeah.
So I just sort of assume people will come up to me because I'm shy. So I'm like, I'll just let them come up to me.
Yeah.
But then you never came up to me. So I was like, oh, I guess she hates me.
No. Oh my God. I loved you. So the thing is that like, I think we had run into each other like a few times, like in public at that point. And I don't remember if that was before or after you were picking up an order for delivery at 30 burgers.
Yes.
Right. That was right before when we finally exchanged numbers, but we had run into each other a couple times. Yeah. I always asked Kevin, like, do you think Andrea knows who I am? Do you think she recognizes me? Because I didn't think that you remembered who I was. And I feel like that's how I feel in general with people. But yeah, I just always thought that like every time we ran into each other, and it was like 5 or 6 times.
Definitely
like it wasn't just once.
Well, I feel like an idiot now. I should have just went up to you because I definitely recognized you. It's just that I was like, I'm so socially awkward at first. I'm like one of those people that I'm like, you have to. But then when we actually hung out for the first time, I was like, oh, this person's so nice. What the fuck was I thinking? I never thought you were a bitch necessarily, but I just like thought like, oh, she hates me. And then when we hung out, I was like, you're literally the nicest person I've ever met. It's crazy.
Aw, thank you.
That's why you should. No, she really is a nice person.
I try.
Next question for self-awareness.
Yeah.
Now let's see. This is a good question, and it's applicable to the times because it's about to be the new year. Do you feel as if the year 2021 went as you expected it to? Like when you started setting your New Year's goals and had like a vision for your new year?
Oh my God. I don't know. No. Like it went really well until kind of the end. And then things kind of started to fall apart. It's fine. Everything's fine. But I don't know. I feel like it went pretty well.
There were like good things about it that you didn't expect. What were some of the things that you expected to happen that didn't happen?
Oh my God. I haven't gone to as many shows as I thought I was going to. I really love live music, and I was so excited for shows and like festivals to come back. But I've only gone to like maybe 3 or 4 shows and 1 festival. And I mean, festivals like usually the summer is it, and a lot of things got pushed back to the fall. So I'm hoping for more festivals next year. But I've just been so anxious trying to get back into live music. And I think that was something that I didn't expect because I was so excited for it. I've been so excited these past 2 years, I guess. Because February 2020 is like when shows like stopped happening.
Were you super bummed out when they?
Oh my God, yeah. Like live music is half of my personality.
Did you go through like during COVID, like when it was, I mean, I guess we're technically always in COVID at this point, but during the thick of it in 2020, did you go through any like mental health struggles? Like how did you cope with it?
Yeah, I mean, the past few years have been really hard. I've gone through, I guess in the past, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I've gone through like a lot with my mental health, a lot of ups and downs. But I think definitely during COVID, I went through some really like rough patches, more so than I think out of COVID. And I think it's just because we all were trying to live in this new normal that no one was used to. And like, we don't grow up trying to prepare, you know, for this kind of stuff. So, it was really good for some things because like I like people, I guess, but I hate people. And I'm really socially awkward at times. Like when I first meet people, our situation was
weird. Yeah, we were kind of both weird to each other.
Yeah. And once I warm up to people, like I won't shut up.
Literally the same thing. The same exact thing.
But I think it was nice because I didn't have to like interact with a lot of people, but I still was working in healthcare at that point. Yeah. And in the restaurant industry. And so it was good for some things, but like, I mean, it's hard going through that. Like, it's so isolating.
I had an ass backwards like experience with that. For some reason, 2020 was one of the best years of my life, and I'm not like.
Listen, I love that for you,
but I was gonna say hate it for me. But I always joke about her that she like her little thing. She says, "I love that for you."
Does no one else say
my
that?
Sister
like,
says
seriously.
My sister says, "I love that journey for you." She goes, "I love that journey for you." She got it from Schitt's Creek, like the TV show Schitt's Creek. I'm not sure if that started with Schitt's Creek or whatever. But
I have no idea. I think I don't even remember who started saying that. It had to be years ago. I mean, it must have been at least 3 or 4 years.
That's her thing. She always says, "I love that for you." But no, like my 2020 was weird. Like it was weird how happy I was in 2020. Okay. And I'm actually going through a mental rough patch now, which I talked about on my last episode. So I have questions for you about handling rough patches.
Yeah,
because it seems like, according to what you're saying, you've had a lot of them.
Recently also, but that's a whole nother story.
So I tried going off my medication, Zoloft, because I wanted to try psychedelics. And that's why I went off. Because, no, seriously, I tried mushrooms and the Zoloft blocked the effects of mushrooms. I went off of...
Yeah, you're not supposed to do psychedelics when you're on antidepressants. So that's why I didn't for a long time.
So I was like, okay, let me go off antidepressants so I could finally try these psychedelics. I just was so busy that I never tried psychedelics. Like I was like, okay, pretty soon I'll try them. And then all of a sudden, like 2 months after being off my antidepressants, I'm on the antidepressants now again for like 4 days. I went through insane anxiety, like unbelievable, uncontrollable anxiety, where I was like, all right, let me wait this out. And then finally I talked to my therapist and she was like, dude, you need to go back on you're not being yourself.
Yeah.
So the past like 5 days I've had insomnia because it's a side effect of going back on your medication. When you first start going on it, it pumps you with feel good hormones and you can't sleep. I finally slept last night, and in order to sleep, I had to smoke a lot of weed and take NyQuil. If I did not sleep, so like right now, by the way, I'm like running off of like NyQuil and like weed hangover. Like, so I apologize.
Is a weed hangover a thing?
Not a weed hangover, but like a fog. Like it's like a combination of like I
get that with the NyQuil. I don't know if I've experienced it with weed.
That's true. I think because I don't smoke a ton of weed, it affects me more.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Probably. Like if you smoke a lot of weed.
I smoke a lot of weed.
I feel like if you smoke a lot of weed, you kind of like build a higher tolerance to it. But if you don't really smoke weed very often, speaking of which, I might try a little bit of that. I've never smoked in this form. What is it like?
It's a pen.
Old.
It's a weed cartridge. I got it from Washington State.
By the way, none of the kids. First of all, let's talk about our age difference. I'm gonna be 34. How old are you?
26, almost 27.
So we're like pretty much almost a decade apart at this point. Not quite, but almost.
It doesn't feel like it until we talk about it.
Yeah. But like none of the kids these days smoke real cigarettes. Like
cigarettes. No.
They're all vaping.
Yeah, because it's more convenient.
And like no one smokes blunts or joints.
Okay,
like,
I
do I
love
smoke? Do I just smoke
flower.
this like regular?
So you just push the button and you pull. Yeah, it's strong though. It's live resin, so yeah.
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I love flower and I love like dabs and I love edibles. I mean, like every kind of smoking. Amazing. I would say probably like smoking flower out of my bong because I have like a 13-inch like water bong and it's amazing. Is probably my favorite. Edibles took a long time for me to like find what dosing like works for me because in college, I took a couple edibles. My friend had given me this brownie and I ate way too much of it and I got really, really high. Oh my God. And I fell asleep. Oh my God. It was in May. So it was kind of cold still, like wasn't quite warm yet. And I was going to a show down in Asbury and I have a house in Ocean Grove. So I was just hanging out on the beach with my ex. And I took like too much of the brownie. Oh, no. And we're just like sitting on the beach in the chair. And I took the blanket over top of me because I was so cold. And I just passed the fuck out, bro. I got so high. And then I woke up and my ex was, he wasn't going to the show either. He just like came down to the beach with me to hang out. And he was miserable. I don't feel bad though because he's a piece of trash. Scott, if you're watching this, go fuck yourself.
What's funny, like I've never gotten into the edible thing yet. Like I've never gotten to the edible trend because I don't know. I just haven't come across it yet. But there's this one stand-up comedian. I don't remember which one it is. God, I wish I could like shout him out. But he's like a famous stand-up comedian. Yeah. He does a whole bit about how his dog accidentally ate one of the elves.
Oh my God.
Have any of your pets ever done that?
No, thankfully. Though, okay, Gandalf, my cat, he was adopted by my previously mentioned ex and all of his friends. It was like 9 dudes living in a house at Rutgers. Yeah. They adopted this cat, this 7-year-old cat at the time, who had lived on the streets his whole life, to kill mice in the house because they were 9 disgusting college boys who did not clean at all. And he did not catch a single mouse. He just ended up wanting to cuddle and have it like be attended to all day.
By the way, her and I have like a connection to cats because I don't like, I want to say you live here, but you don't live here. Like you kind of live here.
Yeah, I live here half the week. It's a long story.
We're not going to get into the details of that, but let's just say for the sake of it, she's kind of my neighbor. You can put it that way. And yeah. So we have like a bunch of stray cats that live out here. So we've had like our whole community of like friends that live in these buildings with us. Like we all take care of the stray cats as a community. It's so much fun. I can't even remember the black one's name anymore.
Sparky. Oh my God.
I don't see Sparky that much
my
anymore.
Angel. I haven't seen her in so long.
Yeah.
I miss her.
I think
she was
might
amazing.
have seen her kind of recently, but she kind of forgets me now.
I don't
understand.
I mean, I feel like she was so little when she first started like coming around here, when she was around here all the time. And then there's this orange tabby. Is it a tabby?
Yeah. What do we
Natty?
call it? Paps Blue Ribbon? No. What do we call
Natty Ice.
Like it's some shitty
Natural Light.
Natty Ice. We call her Natty Ice.
Yeah. Natty is, I don't know why you guys you and Meg just fucking love Natty. Everyone else hates Natty. Natty is a jerk. Dude, Natty is so mean. Natty has never let me go up to him and like say hi. He always hisses at me from like 5 feet away.
I don't know what it is. I think Meg and I are basically like cat whisperers.
I think
like,
so.
To another dimension, like to another level, because
I always thought I was, but like not compared to you guys.
I think Meg might be more of a cat whisperer than me, possibly because she has 3 cats, but I'm also one because I remember I went to one of my students' houses. I teach piano lessons, and I traveled to this particular student's house, and they have a family cat there, and they basically told me they're like, that cat hates everyone, like even us. Like
the cat didn't hate you?
The cat was purring, and like I was like taking pictures of it, and it was like posing for me, and the student's mom was like, the student was like 12, so I had to communicate with the parents about stuff, and like the student's mom was like, that cat doesn't even like me. Like, what are you? Like, what kind of creature are you that you just walk into her house and the cat's like purring? And like I just have like cat abilities. I don't know, maybe I was a cat in a past life or something.
Maybe, dude. Fucking maybe.
All right, so I do have questions for you about poems, because so you were telling me that you're big on writing, getting your emotions out. You said you're working on a zine. What's a zine? What's a zine?
So it's like, so it's short for magazine, I think.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
This is gonna be a bad look for me right now.
Why?
Because I can't remember. I mean, I know zine came first, and I'm like 99% sure that like magazines came from zines. But I think that they called them, I don't know actually why they called them magazines.
It's like an article type of thing?
Yeah, so a zine is a self-published work of art, whatever that means to the author. Yeah. So it can be art, like visual art. It could be writing. It could be articles. It could be literally whatever you can think of. Yeah. For me, it's poetry and a little bit of visual art. I've been working on it for 3 years, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I've loved writing since I was in high school. Since before I was high school.
A zine when I was in high school. I think it might even be somewhere over here. If I can spot it really quick, I'll just like pop it out. I don't see it though. But now I think I know what you're talking about, because I remember in high school our art teacher made us like kind of put these collages together and like put words on it and stuff like that. Is that what a zine is?
Yeah, more like in a book.
It was a book.
Yeah,
it was like a book of
so,
like.
yeah, pretty much.
God.
You made a zine.
I wish I could see. I wish I could show it to you. I'm looking over here really quick. I'll come back to it later, but I know it's somewhere around this house.
Yeah, I mean, if you find it, I want to see it. That's cool as hell.
It's really weird. It's kind of disturbing because I was like 17 when I made it, and some of the images are. Just give me. I'll edit out the waiting period. Let's get my zine out.
I'm just gonna get real high. It's fine. We're having a good time. Hi, Andrea in post. ASMR.
Okay. It's right here.
Sorry, my laugh is so loud. It's obnoxious. I hate it. I mean, actually, I love it, but
Okay, we're back. I did find it. I don't know if this is a zine.
That's really cool looking, though.
Okay, I made this when I was like 16 or 17, and some of the images in it are like kind of explain my life, I think. Like why my life is what it is. So first of all, this is like
that? Or is that like paper?
It's like
fabric?
So it's a combination of fabric that already existed that I like painted over it. But let's see. So the first one,
hell yeah.
I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna ignore that. So I don't know what the fuck this is. I wrote.
That's amazing. It's like it looks like Gumby in a bra.
But what is it like? What was my 16-year-old brain like trying to say with this? Is my question. So it's a woman looking in the mirror in her bra, and the woman she's looking at is green, like body image issues or something. Like what? Like,
maybe
I look in the mirror.
It's up to interpretation. There's a cat. That's like the cool thing about art.
There's a cat, a green cat. What the fuck is this? Look at that.
It's a very busy mind.
So
clearly got things going on.
There's like a cat and like a green brain. Let's see what else. There's music.
Flowing.
I keep talking about green. Like everything is green. I wrote the word green. I have like music notes.
Was your favorite color green, Andrea?
It is. It still is.
It still is green.
Wait, I'm trying to find the one image that's like, what the fuck? Oh wait, this is cool. So it's like a piano. So I always liked music
I really
a
like
lot.
That.
It's like a piano in hands. I really like that.
I do. It's cool. And the words. It's yeah,
so there's
it's
like a husband and a wife together. So apparently I wanted to fall in love.
Doesn't everyone when they're 17 and throughout their lives?
All right, now this is fucking weird. Look at that couple.
Who are they? What is that?
Like an old
perspective?
Couple. I don't know what this is. There's like an old couple with like a bloody hand and some fucked up shit. I don't know. And that's pretty much it. Is that a zine?
Yeah.
I made a zine.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, usually, so, they're usually like pretty indie, like independent, and I'm sorry for explaining that. I don't know why I said indie means independent. Like no one knows that.
Because she thinks all the people listening are idiots.
No comment. So
Who's listening.
Most zines are like, a lot of times they're self-published and replicated, so I mean reprinted, made copies of like usually cheap like paper pamphlets and put at like record stores and local bookstores, stuff like that.
I actually was curious. So when you create your stuff, do you have to be are you the type of creator that has to be in an emotionally heightened state while you're creating, or do you go back and work on something no matter what, like even if you're in like a kind of neutral state?
No. So the really hard part about this is that when I'm writing, like the only way that I feel like I produce my best work and like good work that I'm proud of, that I want to put out there, is when I'm like in the mood, when I'm totally inspired to do something. So I'll write poems back to back if I have inspiration. If I'm not totally inspired and feel like that rush of idea, like I can't write.
Does inspiration, like, do you write any sad poems?
Oh
or are they
yeah.
all-
So most of my stuff is like sad.
So
and
like when you
kinda
say inspired, are
depressing.
you presently sad in that moment, in the moments that you, not presently, but in those moments, were you sad while you wrote them?
Yeah, definitely. Or feeling just some type of way. I feel like most of my work, at least the stuff that I feel the best about, has come out of really deep, more so negative emotions. And so most of my stuff isn't super happy, but I feel like I grow so much out of all of that kind of stuff. And it really helps me work through my emotions, I guess. I mean, I wrote one of my favorite poems after I was sexually assaulted.
Really?
And yeah, it's one of my longest too. I love it. It's not super complex, but it just really like hits hard. It's called The Boys We Kiss, and I'll send it to you later.
I wish you could read it for us now. Do you have it like stored?
Yeah.
Because I like when people like do their live stuff here.
Totally.
We could do that.
It came out of my sexual assault, but then I didn't even realize until years later that it actually, like, that I was assaulted. Like, it took me a long time to actually come to terms with the fact that I was.
Like, you were kind of in denial about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of long. It's not a short. It probably takes a couple of minutes to read.
That's
if you
fine.
want me to. Okay. The Boys We Kiss. Inching slowly closer to him, first my fingers, tiptoeing to his fingers, one after the next. My heart beating faster with every move I make. He makes. His heart beats too. As I feel our heartbeats aligning, my knees move closer towards him, slowly enough to barely even notice. But he notices, because we are infinite in this moment. And the next second moves faster than the speed of light. Our mouths press together, hungry like we haven't eaten in months. Hands on places only some hands have permission, but his hands have permission. Undressing me with his eyes as he takes off my clothes, lips and tongues moving from mouths to other places, and baby, we are moving. Suddenly, fingers launch into me like torpedoes, and I am shocked. I do not like it, but I play so well because, baby, this is what I'm used to. Playing along on his terms and never mine. I want to shout slowly, sensually, not like this. But I can't speak. So all I do is moan like one of the girls in the videos he watches because, baby, this is what I'm used to. And as quickly as it starts, it is over. He moves my mouth towards places I do not want to go, but I go anyways because this is what girls are taught to do, whatever that boy wants, whatever that boy needs. But never what they want, what they need, what they yearn for. No matter how many boys she has kissed and done other things with, her pleasure is always on the back burner next to his. Never asking what she wants, what she likes, but doing what he says in the videos he watches because that is what they like, right? Wrong. But how do we teach the boys we kiss to do what we like and not what they think we like? If we are taught from such a young age that shrinking ourselves is what boys like him want, and that knowing what we want, what we need, is not sexy, next to our obedience of him. How do we teach the boys we kiss that we are just as important as they are? Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thanks.
I was like really locked into that. So that was, you said that was inspired after you were sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that like sparked emotions for me, even like from some past experiences I've had as well. Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like from the time that we're kids, we're taught that women are a distraction to men and that we are not as important as they are and putting our needs second. Like, how many girls growing up have orgasms when they have sex with boys? Boys always come from sex, right? And like, how often do women do that? You know, like, women come during sex such as, I wish I knew the percentage of time. It's so small.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's the male way and the woman way is so like
so different.
Like, so different. I feel like the woman has different needs. Like, the woman, I mean,
oh,
like,
absolutely,
every woman's different, so I can't speak for all women, but I know personally I need to like feel comfortable. I need to feel cared for. Like, I need the environment to be right. Like, there's just like a lot of things going on. I need to be touched in the ways that feel right to me. Like, there's like a whole lot going on.
Yeah, you need to be stimulated in the ways that feel right to you, that feel good to you, that make you feel special.
And it's funny what you say, like, about women are taught that they're a distraction. I specifically remember this from a job I had worked at. I don't want to say the job just because I don't want to get in trouble or sued by them, but there was a job that I worked at. I will say it was a music business, so you can I will say it was one of those brands, like Sam Ash, Guitar Center. It has to only be one of those two.
Okay.
I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to get sued. But I worked for one of those companies, and I was pretty much the only female on the floor most of the time because it was a very male-dominated job. A lot of the men would like hang out together and talk when there was no customers, and it was allowed. Like, you know what I mean? So one day not one day, but a couple days I joined, and like I would also walk out and meet with everybody when they were talking. Meanwhile, my job there was like a lessons coordinator. So there was like a lessons, they had private lessons there, in like a corner. And as the lessons coordinator, you didn't have to wear the store uniform. You just had to dress nice. So I would wear a skirt, not a really short skirt, like a long, like pencil skirt type of thing.
As you do. I mean, you always look super classy.
So I went out and joined the guys that were on the floor chatting, and the management called me aside, and they were like, listen, we know that people like to talk like during the down periods, but we can't have you do that anymore because he basically told me he actually said those words. I mean, this was like 9 years ago, so I feel like these days they could never say that, but they're like, you're a distraction to them. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's not my fault. So they're allowed to go out and talk, but it's okay when they do it, but I'm a distraction. And then he told me
because I'm a woman. And
then he told me I need to stop wearing skirts. And I'm like, where in the like, it says that I have to dress nicely. Where in the manual does it say that I can't wear a skirt? Like, skirts are what women wear, like when they want to dress professional. And I actually went to the manual, and I actually found the thing that said, women in this position that I was in are allowed to wear skirts as long as they, like, you know, the rule, like that they had in high school. God, like, it has to go past a certain thing, and mine did. I was wearing pencil skirts
above 2 inches.
Yeah, it can't be above your fingertips or whatever. Yeah. So I would wear these long skirts, and they basically told me, they were like, yeah, but you're just distracting the guys dressed like that
because you're curvy.
Because I'm exactly, because I have a big ass, so my skirt, like, I guess my ass looks good in the skirt, and it distracts the guys. And then
dude, that's such bullshit though.
But here's the thing,
dress codes are bullshit.
That was the general manager of that store. So I had actually called the head manager of the company and told them, I was like, hey, like, and I sent them pictures. I'm like, hey, is this skirt okay? And they were like, yeah, that's totally fine. And then I showed them, and I was like, I'm allowed to wear this skirt. Like, what the fuck? And they basically just just said, like, you can't walk on the floor and you can't wear that skirt because you're a distraction. And I'm like, that shit would never fly today. This was like a decade ago, basically, at this point.
I mean, but still, like, the worst part is that it does fly today, because so many fucking companies and schools out there are still following and going by these archaic dress codes. It's bullshit, bro. Like, why are we a distraction? We can't wear a tank top, but a guy can wear a tank top. A guy can wear shorts. A guy can be shirtless in gym, and it's not a distraction. But the minute a woman wears less than a 2-finger width tank top in school, she gets sent home.
Yeah, I actually do remember in high school there were a few times where I got in trouble
Absolutely
for,
not
wearing tank tops or whatever.
No,
or wearing,
fuck that.
Yeah.
It's a fucking patriarchy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't have kids, but if I had kids and they were like, yeah, like now that I think about it, when I was little, I got in trouble for wearing makeup once.
Yeah.
Like when I was little.
Yeah.
I remember I wore makeup and the teacher told me like, you can't do that. And I'm just like, who the fuck, like, are you to tell me how to dress or like care for myself? And this is something I always thought about too as a kid. Like, why are we trying to hide? Like, I always felt like when I was okay, everyone knows I open up like almost too much on this podcast. I went through puberty very young. Okay, I got my period when I was 9.
Oh damn!
So
I don't think I got mine until like 8th grade.
No, I got mine when I was in 4th grade. So according to Mother Nature, I was ready to fuck in 4th grade.
Yeah, basically.
So according to
have kids in 4th grade.
According to in 4th grade, I could have conceived a child.
Crazy.
So of course by the time I was 15 I was interested in guys, but I always felt like I was in trouble for having sexual feelings for guys, and I feel like that's not a healthy way to raise your kids, to teach them that they're like bad or naughty. I mean, if they have sexual feelings,
no parents teach their kids how to masturbate when they're teenagers. I figured that out on my own. Like how many of us stuck like women or people with vaginas stuck foreign objects up there?
I was just telling my friend
sorry if this is too graphic.
Okay, this is a little personal, but we're gonna go there. When I had my first orgasm at 9,
I love that for you. It took me 15 more years.
I didn't even know what an orgasm was. So
14.
Like I said, I had gotten my period so young. So I had these like raging hormones in my body. And I just remember at this point, I never even had sex ed. I didn't even know what sex was at this point. Yeah. And I remember just having all these feelings inside my body. And I started humping my stuffed animal.
Okay, but like for real, who didn't? When they were
like just intuitively, I'm just like humping the shit, and I kept switching out different stuffed animals to find the right one. So I finally found one, and I'm not gonna say which one it was in case my dad listens to this podcast because I don't want him to know which one it was. But because I'm pretty sure he bought like all those.
He'll know about the couch. Does he know about the couch?
No, I never humped the couch. That's a guy thing.
No, like that you took apart the couch.
Oh no, he knows that. He knows that. Okay. But I finally found one stuffed animal that I was like, this is the one, and I started humping the shit out of it because it had kind of like, it wasn't all soft, like there were some parts of it that were plastic, so it had like a hardness. And I started humping it. I had an orgasm. And I started crying because I thought and then I called my mom and dad were still married at this point. I called my mom like in the other room and I was like, Mom! And I started crying and I said, I broke my pee-pee. I said, I broke my pee-pee. And I told her what happened. I was like, I just started rubbing against this doll and my pee-pee exploded.
Andrea, I was like 2 at that time. I was an infant when Andrea had her first orgasm, and I was an adult when I had my first orgasm. Let's just think about that.
I'm kind of drop in the comment section below. What was your first orgasm? Like,
please,
how old were you?
I really need some validation that I'm not alone.
Do you know that I used to draw? Like, we didn't have porn or like iPhone. Well, we had porn, but like we didn't have iPhones back then where you could just look it up. Like, I used to draw naked people and jerk off to it.
That's amazing.
Not jerk off, but whatever you want to call it.
Do you remember when the internet first came out and there were all those sites about those little animated people that you could dress up?
Yeah.
And you would they didn't have clothes on at first and you're like, oh my God, boobs.
I used to get aroused by the Scrambly channel. Do you know the like when you would go through TV?
God. I feel young.
You don't know the Scrambly?
I don't know the Scrambly channel. I know everything. I don't know what to explain it.
Your parents would have a TV and there would be I don't even know how to explain it. There would be certain channels that you would go to that would just be fuzz.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
sometimes those channels had porn behind the fuzz.
No, I've never seen
because
the
those
scrambly
because those I just call it the scrambly channel because like so there was you know fuzz though those like white dots or whatever. So there would be the fuzz and it was only fuzzy because your parents didn't like pay for that porn channel, like that softcore porn or whatever.
Locked.
Yeah, it was locked. And you could, if you just look carefully, you could see a tit every now and then, like because it was
you
softcore
jerk off to the scrambly channels,
Yes.
Andrea. Oh my god!
You have to understand, we did not have iPhones. I was like 12 maybe, and I would
we
like
didn't have iPhones. The first iPhone came out when I was in like ninth grade,
yeah,
like 13 or 14 years old. I mean, kids now they're like, I got an iPhone as my first phone. I'm like, bitch, I got a flip phone. iPhones didn't exist back then.
That's true. I think
iPhones didn't exist back then.
I had my first cell phone when I was like 15 or 16, and it was like a flip phone.
I had my first one. The only reason I had it so early, I think I had it when I was in 4th grade because my sister was 2 grades above me. She had just gotten into 6th grade. She was in middle school now.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, she needs a phone.
Yeah.
So she got a flip phone, and then I think they got one for free. So then I had a phone because I was the second oldest. That's the only reason why. I mean, I got my first 2 phones. Sorry. I got my first 2 phones for free. Yeah. That's the only reason why I had a phone when I was like young. Otherwise, it would have been like 7th grade or something. Maybe.
Kids now must have phones at like 6.
When they're 2 years old.
2?
Dude. So do you remember I was a therapist for a while for kids with autism, autistic children. And my youngest client was 2 years old and he had an iPad, his own iPad. I mean, but I really think that like a lot of kids nowadays have phones.
I got these like
just to play with, but like they have phones.
I got this email recently saying get yourself a kid's debit card. I'm like, kids? Because probably the kids it's gotta be because the kids have those iPads. They probably like they want to make money off of their kids to like buy apps or download apps or whatever. But I'm like, a kid's debit card? What the fuck? But some people are probably doing it because probably the kids are like, "Mommy, can you buy this toy?" And like maybe some of the moms
kids can talk when they're just under 2 years old, which is insane to me. I still don't understand children. Never will, I think. But yeah, I mean, like as soon as kids can talk, it's like they see all this technology around them. It's so new to us because kids are quick learners. So if they're just born into when technology was like really started becoming prevalent, like cell phones and shit. So I mean, even computers didn't really become super mainstream. I mean, I guess they were in the early 2000s, but we were so young when that...
I think I had a computer in 4th grade. A lot of this is for like puberty or 4th grade. In 4th grade, I had this computer where I would play American Girl doll. There was like an American Girl doll video game that I had.
Okay.
But it was like an old, like one of those big chunky computers.
Oh yeah, those don't even exist nowadays.
Yeah, no, I didn't start getting like the smartphone technology. I mean, no, we had computers though. Like I remember going on chat rooms. Do you remember chat rooms?
Dude, did you ever go on Omegle?
No.
Oh my god. Omegle was like this chat room that you could refresh. And when you refreshed it, it would be like you could be in a new chat room. And so many people would try to catfish as celebrities.
Oh my god.
And say like, you're on with Jesse McCartney. And then
I think my dad did that to my aunt because like I remember I'm like calling out all this business.
You would like think that you're talking to the celebrity because we were children and we thought that we were talking to like Jesse McCartney.
My dad did that to my aunt. Sorry, Dad and Aunt, I'm gonna call this out right now. So everybody in my family is like autistically obsessive with things, and my one aunt went through like this Carlos Santana obsession phase, and she would go on Carlos Santana chat rooms, and my dad, and they all know about it, so that's why we're talking about it. My dad like was like, let me fuck with her, and he he went on the Carlos Santana chat room and pretended to be Carlos Santana. And like, it was this, eventually he admitted to it, but like, it was just this whole thing. Like,
people really be wilding back in what, 2005, 2006.
Yeah. How old were you during 2000?
I was 5.
Do you remember the millennial? Like, there was like this whole thing that it was like all the technology is gonna die.
Yeah. So they were like, everything's gonna die and explode when the year 2000 hits. So
they got it wrong. They were meant to say 2020.
Basically, I mean, the thing is I don't really remember a lot, like half of my childhood. So the first 12 and 13 years are kind of foggy because I went through a lot of physical and emotional trauma and abuse. So I don't have a ton of like memory back then. I kind of remember, I think it was Y2K, that party. My parents were still together and they had a party, and in the basement they had on this table a bucket of Tostitos. And I hid under the table with the bucket of Tostitos.
God.
I've been a lover of Tostitos since I was 5 years old. Sponsor me. So that's really like one of my founding memories. But also I don't necessarily know if I remember that as being 5 or just from having the memory told to me. But I think that's all I remember of that. I mean, when I was that young, my parents were driving me around in their friend's ambulance with the lights on, because that's the only way that we would fall asleep, or like in the car in the back seat. I was 5 at that point, 4.5. So I don't necessarily remember like that much of it, unfortunately. I wish I did. I don't remember 9/11. I have so many people that I know like that are my age do, and okay,
I'm gonna make you feel better then, because a lot of people are shocked when they hear that I don't remember. So
how old were you at 9/11?
I was 12, but my experience with 9/11 was that they didn't. I also came from like a. I don't want to say.
Didn't you live close to here? You're from Bridgewater, right?
I'm from here, but this is what happened. So. On 9/11, I was about 12 years old ish.
So you were in what?
I was in middle school.
6th grade?
I was in middle school for sure. I must have been in 6th grade, 7th grade.
Probably the beginning of 6th grade.
It's probably 6th grade. And I remember they made an announcement on the intercom. They were like, if any, they basically said there's been an accident in New York. If anybody has a mom or dad from New York who works in New York City, please come to the office. Mm-hmm. That's all he said. And then I wasn't from an abusive family necessarily, but I was from I had a neglectful childhood. I was alone a lot. So when I just went home, that's all I heard. And then I went home that day and didn't, you couldn't see it from my house. So like, I didn't know anything else. And then as I grew up and I aged, I heard things about it, but I was like, oh, that's what happened. But I never like did my own research. I really just started researching all the details and facts about 9/11 like last year.
Really?
Yes. Like I knew what happened, but like I didn't really know like the whole full picture. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know all the details and everything.
I feel like I don't really know the details.
Yeah,
all I know is that the planes crashed into the Twin Towers.
Well, I mean, I knew that.
That's
I knew that much.
And I don't know if I've ever researched into it.
See, that's what I mean though. Like I knew that. Like I heard that like a couple days later, people were, the kids were joking about it and stuff. Yeah. So I knew that, but I just didn't know like in detail, in depth about like everything till like last year, pretty much.
Yeah, so. I don't know if I would ever want to actually research it in depth. More than what I know now, which is, I guess, not a lot. I know the basics.
Yeah.
But I mean, who...
It's disturbing.
There have been movies made about it.
Yeah.
And all of that kind of stuff, but...
Yeah. No, it's disturbing to get into. It's not like a lighthearted thing.
Nah.
Like, I remember getting into, like... I remember getting into like listening to people's like they have like voicemails left over of like husbands and wives that called.
That's so fucking sad.
Yeah, it's like really heart wrenching. Like if you don't, it's probably better if you don't know about it because it's like pretty gut wrenching.
Does that make me a shitty person though for not looking into it and not actually
not
knowing
necessarily?
Like, all
no,
of the nitty-gritty of what happened?
I
feel like you
so.
can kind of picture what happened.
No, I understand. I understand because honestly, like not. I think if you were like, I think if that happened now, if that happened today, it would be kind of weird if you didn't know about it because you're an adult. But I personally don't think everybody should be responsible for all political issues that go on around them. It's not possible. Like I personally try to stay out of politics, and I've been criticized about that from certain people, like that I'm selfish or ignorant, that I should be more involved in politics.
Things like BLM and all that happened around George Floyd and, like how do you know about that stuff?
Yeah, I do. It's just that I don't really like go to rallies. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like you have to go to rallies to support BLM and to support that kind of stuff. You just have to know, I mean, it's general human rights. I feel like over the years, it wasn't as polarizing. Polarizing. It wasn't as polarizing as it is now. But I mean, I guess so. How I feel is being a Republican 10 years ago is nothing like being a Republican now.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So voicing opinions against human rights issues, if you can't stand up for a human rights issue, go fuck yourself. That's how I feel. Personally. But like BLM and stuff like that, right? Like BLM versus All Lives Matter. People who think that all lives matter, go fuck yourselves. And I'll say this to anyone, right? It comes to a point where it's smaller issues and then it gets to be a human rights issue, and thinking that people, if their skin isn't white, they're not worth anything, right? Like that's the kind of political issues more so that I get behind. I don't know. It's so nuanced nowadays, and it's so complicated to think about, because like even if you think about one small thing and you get into like one small issue, it can suddenly become a whole thing.
I'm trying to think if there's any like specific, I guess what I'm trying to say is like there's so many different political issues going on that you don't have to feel bad if you don't care about all of them, because there's so many people in the world, and like trust me, if you don't care, somebody else does. If I really try to sit here and think about, is there a political issue I'm like extremely passionate about, it's really hard for me to say, because honestly, like the funny thing is my parents are politicians. Like they're Democrats.
Really?
Yeah, like both of my parents.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my dad is a politician, and so is my I don't know if I would call my stepmom a politician necessarily, but she's like heavily involved in politics.
Okay.
My uncle is heavily like all my entire family's like, I think my dad is the only like professional politician, but like everybody else on my dad's side of the family is like heavily. Yeah. I think my uncle was a professional politician at one point, or he ran for something. I don't think he won, but he tried. No, my stepbrother was also a politician. Yeah. So like, it's so funny. My family is super political, and they're liberal too. Like they're Democrats, they're liberals. Yeah. I think that might be the reason why I'm not political, because I've always been like a naturally rebellious person growing up. Okay. So I'm just kind of like, I don't want to do what everyone's doing. So I just, but if I try to really think about like, I guess if I was passionate about any cause right now, it would probably be student loan debt, because I have it. So it's something that directly affects me, and I can understand, like, I don't understand why, certain billionaires or men who have opened up companies can file bankruptcy and completely wipe out their debt if their business plan fails, but a brand new like young person who's 18 or 19 years old gets sold these student loans and takes it out because their brains aren't even formed yet to make logical decisions, and then they end up pursuing a degree that doesn't get them a job, then they can't make any money, and now they're $80,000 to $100,000 in debt, and they can't, because I'm one of these people. so like, if anything, I'm probably more passionate about that cause or that political issue. I literally wanted Bernie Sanders to be president just because if he wanted to cancel student loan debt.
Yeah, Bernie's great. I had a conversation with like one of my coworkers today who is young, who just graduated last year from college, 2021, I guess, 20, something like that. And he was like, I worked through college and I paid off my loans. And I'm like, congratulations, because you're the 1%. Because who can afford to work through college and use that money to pay off their student loans?
The way I see it is like, when I took out those loans, I genuinely was like too young and dumb to think about it.
When I took out my first loan, I think it was, I had moved out of my parents' house after my second year of college. So then I went to do 3 more years of college, and I lived off campus for all of them because I had 2 younger siblings, a younger sister and a younger half brother. Yeah. And I guess a younger brother, who all were only a few years behind me, but my parents started treating me like children. And I was like, I'm in college, I'm involved in these extracurriculars, these clubs and whatever. I'm going to be out late and I'm not going to be home, when you want me to be home, because I'm busy doing stuff. And they were like, be home at this time. And I'm like, no. So I ended up I got grants to go to college. I had to take out my only student loans when I was in school to live out of my parents' house.
I've had situations like that.
So I have $23,000 in student loan debt for living off campus for 3 years.
Dude, that's insane.
Dude, if everyone just decides to not pay their student loans in February, what are they going to do to all of us?
Yeah, I feel like at some point there's got to be... Dude, I'm even worse. I'm like $80,000 in student loan debt.
I'm so lucky. I'm very grateful for my grants that I got because there were 4 of us. I'm the only one who went to a 4-year out of high school. The rest of my siblings some of them went to some community college, now all like college or whatever. Yeah. But I'm the only one who did like 4-year out of high school. And even I regret it. And I was the smartest one who was like top of my class in high school, had ADHD out of high school, didn't get diagnosed until I was 22 years old. Like, almost failed out of college a couple of times.
Also, here's the thing too.
College is hard.
when I took out my college loans, I had every intention of working my ass off to pay them back.
It's hard. You can't do that shit.
No, but what happened to me was I ended up getting an injury. I ended up getting a debilitating physical injury that made it so that I had to stay in bed for a whole year, basically. So at that point, I was in serious financial trouble. I started having like medical bills, like all this like terrible stuff. And like now, because of that issue, I know my limits, and I know I really can't work my ass off and work all these hours to like, because it affects me so much mentally and physically that it's either like, okay, I either need to work this amount of hours. If I start trying to work 60 to 80 hours a week, I start like losing my mind and my body. Like I just can't physically do it. So it's like if I had every intention of paying these debts back, but I have physical and mental limitations that are stopping me from doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, why is somebody like, Donald Trump, why is he allowed to file bankruptcy for his businesses and way more than $80,000 but yet
and be fine
and yet
continue on with your business.
Yeah, but like, listen, if I was making enough money to pay for these things, I would pay them, but I'm not. And it's like, why? I don't know. It's just that's probably the political issue I'm passionate about is student loan debt.
Oh my God. But like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, if all of us decide to just not pay our loans back, like what happens?
I think my issue,
all of us?
I think no, but I think everybody would have to somehow become an agreement with that. I think I do pay them, but I think my fear is like having a bad credit score and not being able to like do other things. So I pay whatever.
Do you have a good credit score right now?
No.
I have a shitty credit score. I don't even know what my credit score is because it gives me so much debilitating anxiety that I can't even look at it. I've looked at it
I'm trying to move.
4 times in my
I
life.
want to move next year, and I want to keep my credit score kind of decent so I can move next year. But then after that, I might consider just not paying my student loans. Like once I'm in a place where I want to be, then I'll be like, okay, then. I mean, I like my apartment now, but this is like a whole other thing. I'm realizing that the cost of living in New Jersey is too high for me.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day because I started a new, not terribly paying job. I mean, I took a probably $15,000 to $20,000 pay cut when I switched industries because I was a therapist and I was making really great money, but I was really mentally exhausted all of the time.
That's really good that you were able to like know that, like even though you were making
it's taken so much work though, so much mental work to be able to even recognize that kind of stuff. It's really shitty. But I was working I was working 25 to 35 hours a week depending on like what I had going on. And I was so mentally exhausted. It felt like I've worked 70-hour weeks in the restaurant industry. And it really felt like that. It felt like double just because of everything. Hours because of how mentally taxing.
What was specifically mentally taxing about it?
I mean, so I was a therapist for autistic children and adults. And it just like taking care of mental issues and helping kids specifically like work through behavioral, mental, like learning challenges. It's super difficult, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be as mentally taxing as it is. And it ends up being like double the amount of work. You're working 25 hours. It feels like you're working 60. It's crazy, and I'm really sad because it was super rewarding, but it got to a point where I wasn't like not able to handle it anymore because it just was too much. I was having a mental breakdown every week just trying to get myself to go to work. Yeah,
at the end of the day, you have to like see yourself and like if you're having mental breakdowns at the end of your work week, you have to. I give you a lot of props for recognizing that and like. Even though you had put the work into getting that job, you were able to look at it and be like, I can't do this. That takes a lot of courage, honestly.
I mean, I did it for a long time and I was really happy about it, and I loved it. My kids were awesome. The adults I worked with were amazing. It got to be too much after a while. And I was in therapy for a long time, and once I'm able to afford it, I'll go back. But working in this industry, it's insane. So mental health care is so unaffordable, but that's a whole other conversation for another day.
I go to the county. Like, I don't want to say which county so that we don't get stalkers, but in the county there's a free one if you want to try that. But I feel like they're not great, like because you get what you pay for, kind of thing. But like the way I look at it is like it's better than nothing. I always hear about this thing online called BetterHelp. Do you ever hear about BetterHelp?
Okay, so BetterHelp, I have like a love-hate with BetterHelp because for a long time, I don't know if you heard about it, BetterHelp didn't have like all certified counselors on their payroll, right?
People,
it was kind of random. You didn't necessarily have to be certified, and that brought in a lot of riffraff into like the counselors in BetterHelp, and a lot of people were heavily promoting BetterHelp. BetterHelp was every other ad you saw on Instagram, on YouTube, you know?
YouTubers I listen to always are talking about BetterHelp
all the time. Once that started to happen, once that came to light that there were a lot of not qualified counselors on BetterHelp, they made it a lot better, and now I think BetterHelp is a lot more reputable than it used to be. But I still have like a very uneasy feeling when I think about BetterHelp, just because of all of that bullshit. Like, you shouldn't have taken the shortcut from the beginning. You should have just been honest, and but I feel like that's kind of how I feel in relationships in general. Like, you should just be honest about it.
There are certain people that I would go to counseling for, even though they're not professional therapists. Yeah. But like, you got to tell them you're not a professional therapist,
Right? It's like, it's not, if you know someone and you're like, we have a great relationship and you're really great and I feel like you're helping, but you're not a therapist, right? Like, that's one thing.
They shouldn't charge as much.
And you know that, right? But then there's other people who pretend like they are, and then you find out that they're not, and you're kind of like, wow, okay, so the fuck? I don't know. It's just, I don't,
Yeah.
It's hard. And so it's hard to trust a company after that. And I know that they've gotten so much better. They're a lot more reputable now, but it's hard to kind of get past that.
It reminds me of Chipotle. I remember at one point Chipotle, I mean, it's like a totally different thing, but I remember at one point Chipotle, like, I don't know if they killed someone or sent someone to the hospital with their lettuce.
They did not kill anyone. Listen, Andrea.
I don't want to send false rumors, but they sent someone to the hospital because their lettuce had salmonella or something.
Yeah, so...
But I love them.
When I was in college, I was a comm major, and so many of my classes were just these different research-based types of classes. I already did so many case studies and research papers on Chipotle, like, throughout college. When they were like, do a paper on this topic or this topic, I was like, does Chipotle fit the bill? Because I've done 5 papers on them.
So you're the expert at this.
I did a lot of research on Chipotle, and they've had so many different scandals, and it's crazy how much and how quickly they bounce back from them, because they just have so much trust throughout their consumer basis.
Even after I heard someone quote unquote died, but they didn't die.
Okay, they didn't die.
I still went back to them. I was like, I'll take my chances because they're so good.
Right. It's just they have those qualities that are like you trust them.
They're the only fast food that I'll eat. Like, I don't eat McDonald's. I don't eat Burger King. I trust them. Like,
I don't, even though they've given you multiple chances and reasons not to trust them.
There was like a scandal that Wendy's had fingers in like a burger. Do you remember that?
No, when was that?
Or like in the front, there was some scandal a while back that someone found fingers in a Wendy's fries or like something like that.
I feel like I would have remembered that.
It might have been something that was like, you might have been too young for that one.
Probably, maybe.
All right. So we're just going on an hour here, just about. So we're going to end the podcast here. I had a great time with my friend SJ. If anyone wants to stalk you and follow your stuff, let them know where they can find you.
So it's at SJAY with 3 Y's. I don't know, or SJ Carl, SJCARL.
I will include a link down below if you want to find her quicker to her Instagram.
Don't find me. If you follow me on Twitter, you're subject to the shit posting that I post on a daily basis.
That's it for you guys today. This is the Pranzata Podcast. If you enjoyed yourself today, don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe, don't forget to comment, and we will be there. I've had a little bit to drink and smoke today, so I can't talk properly.
If you don't subscribe to Andrea's podcast, I will personally come for you, and you don't want that, so do it.
Look at her tattoo. Look at her face tattoos. You don't want that.
I do. I guess kind of face. It is on my face.
That's it. Pranzata Podcast, episode 38. Have a good night, guys. Bye.
Bye.